Picture this, a warm Friday evening in early autumn, when the air carries just a hint of crispness but still holds onto the memory of summer. The kind of evening that feels made for new beginnings and meaningful connections. That's when Alex found himself walking toward Lucia's, a small Italian restaurant tucked between a bookstore and a vintage record shop on a charming street lined with string lights that twinkled year-round. His heart beat a little faster than usual, partly from the brisk walk and partly from anticipation. This would be his third date with Jamie, and something about tonight felt different, more significant somehow. Alex had spent an embarrassing amount of time choosing his outfit, a deep blue button-down that his friends always said brought out his eyes, paired with his best jeans. He'd even splurged on a haircut the day before. What he hadn't done, unfortunately, was remember to grab his glasses from the bathroom counter where he'd left them after showering. He'd been halfway to the restaurant when he realized his mistake, patting his pockets and then groaning aloud. But by then, he was already running a few minutes late, and the thought of turning back meant potentially keeping Jamie waiting. So he'd pressed on, figuring the restaurant would be well lit enough that he could manage without them. Alex and Jamie had met 3 weeks ago at a mutual friend's housewarming party. They'd both arrived early to help set up and ended up arranging cheese platters together, laughing over their shared inability to create anything Instagram-worthy. The conversation had flowed effortlessly from there. Books they'd both read, places they'd traveled, the kind of music that made them feel alive. By the end of the night, they'd exchanged numbers, and Alex had spent the next day working up the courage to send the first text. Their first date had been coffee, the second a walk through the botanical gardens, and now this. Dinner at a place Jamie had described as the kind of restaurant where you want to linger over every bite. As Alex approached Lucia's, he spotted Jamie waiting outside, leaning against the brick wall of the building, scrolling through a phone. The sight made Alex's stomach flip pleasantly. Jamie looked up just then, caught his eye, and broke into a smile that seemed to light up the entire street. Alex quickened his pace, suddenly forgetting all about his missing glasses. "You made it," Jamie said, pulling Alex into a quick hug that smelled of sandalwood and something citrusy. "I was starting to think you might stand me up." "Never," Alex replied, feeling the warmth of the embrace even after they separated. "Sorry I'm a bit late. I, had a small crisis of confidence about my shirt choice." It wasn't entirely a lie. He had changed shirts twice, but it sounded better than admitting he'd been frantically searching for his glasses until he'd given up. Jamie stepped back, giving Alex an appraising look that made him feel both self-conscious and thrilled. "Well, the crisis was unnecessary. You look great." There was a sincerity in Jamie's voice that made Alex believe it. The hostess led them to a corner table, intimate and cozy, lit primarily by a single candle and the subtle glow from small wall sconces. The restaurant was busier than Alex had expected, filled with the pleasant hum of conversation and the occasional burst of laughter. The atmosphere was exactly right, romantic without being stuffy, casual enough that Alex felt he could relax, but special enough for a meaningful date. As they settled into their seats, a waiter approached with 2 leather-bound menus. "Good evening, gentlemen. Can I start you with something to drink? Perhaps a wine from our selection?" Jamie looked at Alex expectantly, and Alex nodded, trying to appear confident despite the growing realization that the dim lighting combined with his missing glasses was going to be a problem. "You choose," he said to Jamie. "I trust your taste." Jamie smiled, clearly pleased by the vote of confidence, and ordered a bottle of Montepulciano that the waiter enthusiastically endorsed. When the waiter departed, promising to return shortly with their wine and to take their order, Alex found himself staring down at the menu in his hands with growing dismay. The elegant script of the restaurant's name at the top was barely discernible, and the menu items below were little more than blurry lines of text. Alex squinted, trying to make out anything recognizable. He could tell there were sections, appetizers, pastas, main courses, but the specific dishes were impossible to decipher. He considered excusing himself to the restroom and using his phone's flashlight to read the menu, but that seemed awkward and obvious. Maybe he could just ask Jamie for recommendations and choose blindly? But what if he ended up ordering something he was allergic to, or worse, something embarrassingly messy to eat on a date? Across the table, Jamie was studying the menu with interest, occasionally making small appreciative sounds. "Everything looks amazing," Jamie commented, looking up to find Alex still staring blankly at his menu. See anything you like? Alex felt a flush creeping up his neck. He could admit the truth or try to fake his way through it. The latter seemed increasingly impossible. Actually, he began, his voice lower than intended, I have a small confession to make. I forgot my glasses at home, and I can't really read the menu in this lighting. There was a moment of silence, and Alex braced himself for judgment or pity. Instead, Jamie's expression softened into something warm and amused. Is that all? The way you said confession. I thought you were about to tell me you were secretly married or something equally dramatic. Alex laughed, feeling the tension drain from his shoulders. No, nothing that exciting. Just your standard issue forgetfulness. But it does present a practical problem. Jamie considered this for a moment, then without hesitation, stood up and moved to the chair directly beside Alex, rather than across from him. The unexpected proximity sent a pleasant shiver through Alex. Problem solved, Jamie said simply. I'll be your personal menu reader for the evening. No need to tip. I work for smiles and good conversation. The waiter returned with their wine, raising an eyebrow slightly at their new seating arrangement, but saying nothing as he poured 2 glasses. Are you ready to order, or would you like a few more minutes? A few more minutes, please, Jamie replied, and the waiter nodded before moving away. Now sitting side by side, their shoulders almost touching, Jamie held the menu where they could both see it and began reading the options aloud, but in a whisper that required Alex to lean in even closer. Let's start with appetizers. They have arancini. Those are risotto balls stuffed with mozzarella and herbs, fried to golden perfection. Or there's bruschetta with heirloom tomatoes and basil from their garden. The calamari is supposedly fantastic, lightly fried with a lemon aioli. As Jamie continued through the menu, Alex found himself paying less attention to the food options and more to the way Jamie's lips formed each word, the subtle changes in expression that indicated personal favorites, the occasional pause to offer commentary. The gnocchi here is handmade daily. It's like little pillows of potato heaven. And I've had their carbonara before. It's the real deal. No cream, just eggs and pecorino and pancetta. The intimacy of the moment wasn't lost on Alex. There was something profoundly connecting about being so close. Heads bent together over the menu, Jamie's voice soft enough that it felt like a secret shared between them. He could smell Jamie's cologne more distinctly now, could see the flecks of gold in those hazel eyes, could feel the slight brush of Jamie's arm against his own whenever either of them moved. What are you thinking? Jamie asked, pausing in the middle of describing a seafood linguine dish. You've got this look on your face. Alex hesitated, then decided to be honest. I'm thinking that forgetting my glasses might be the best mistake I've made in a long time. Jamie's smile in response was slow and genuine, reaching all the way to those expressive eyes. I'm inclined to agree, though I can't help but wonder if you staged the whole thing just to get me to sit closer to you. If I were that smooth, I would have planned something much more sophisticated than forgetting my glasses, Alex replied, feeling a surge of confidence from the playful banter. I don't know, Jamie mused. It seems to be working pretty well for you. There was a teasing quality to Jamie's voice, but underneath it, Alex detected something more sincere, a reciprocal interest, perhaps even attraction. They eventually settled on sharing the arancini to start, followed by the restaurant's famous mushroom risotto for Jamie and the handmade pappardelle with slow-cooked ragu for Alex. When the waiter returned to take their order, Jamie remained in the seat beside Alex, a choice that felt significant somehow. As they sipped their wine and waited for the appetizer, the conversation flowed naturally from topic to topic. Jamie talked about growing up in a small coastal town, where summers were spent working at the family's ice cream shop, learning to judge a person's character by their flavor choice. Vanilla with sprinkles? Optimist. Double chocolate fudge? Likely to be intense, but loyal. Mint chip? Wild card, could go either way. Alex shared stories about his job as a graphic designer, the satisfaction of creating something that perfectly captured a client's vision, and the frustration of creative blocks. There are days when I stare at a blank screen for hours, and nothing comes. And then suddenly, usually when I'm in the shower or about to fall asleep, the perfect idea appears fully formed. When the arancini arrived, steam rising gently from the golden brown spheres, they continued talking between bites, occasionally making appreciative noises at the perfect combination of crispy exterior and creamy, cheesy interior. At one point, Jamie reached out to wipe a bit of sauce from the corner of Alex's mouth, a gesture so casual yet intimate that it momentarily stole Alex's breath. So, Jamie said, after they demolished the appetizer, tell me something you've never told anyone on a date before. Alex considered the question, swirling the remaining wine in his glass. That's a dangerous request. What if all my secrets are either incredibly boring or completely inappropriate for dinner conversation? I'll take that risk, Jamie replied, eyes sparkling with curiosity. I'm betting on something in between, not boring, not scandalous, just real. Alex took a sip of wine, feeling its warmth spread through him, bolstering his courage. Okay. When I was 9, I was convinced I could communicate with the moon, not just talk to it. I thought we had conversations. I would lie on my back in the yard and tell the moon all my problems, and I swore it answered me. Not with words, exactly, but with feelings, with certainty. My parents thought it was adorable until I started making decisions based on what the moon told me. Jamie's expression was soft, interested rather than judgmental. What kind of decisions? Oh, nothing too dramatic. Which friends to trust? Whether to try out for the school play? What book to read next? I had this whole system of interpreting the moon's responses based on its phase and brightness. Alex laughed, feeling slightly self-conscious. I eventually outgrew it, but sometimes, even now, on really clear nights, I find myself looking up and waiting for that feeling again. I love that, Jamie said simply. We all need something to believe in, especially as kids. Something bigger than ourselves that still feels personal, you know? The main courses arrived then, steam rising from both plates, the aromas rich and inviting. They fell into a comfortable silence as they took their first bites, exchanging appreciative glances. Jamie offered Alex a taste of the risotto, holding out a spoonful across the small space between them. The gesture was casual but felt charged with meaning. The sharing of food, the brief eye contact as Alex accepted the bite. Your turn, Alex said after a moment. Tell me something you've never told anyone on a date. Jamie thought for a moment, twirling a spoon in the creamy risotto. I collect vintage typewriters. Not just to display them. I actually use them. I write letters, mostly to my grandmother, but sometimes to friends too. There's something about the physicality of it, the way you have to commit to each keystroke. You can't just delete and start over. It makes me more thoughtful about what I say. That's beautiful, Alex said, genuinely moved by the unexpected revelation. Do you have a favorite? A 1943 Remington Rand. It belonged to my grandfather. The E key sticks a little, and it makes this wonderful ding at the end of each line that sounds exactly like possibility. As they continued eating, their conversation deepened, moving from light-hearted anecdotes to more meaningful exchanges. Jamie spoke about the loss of a close friend in college and how it had shaped a perspective on living fully in each moment. Alex shared his complicated relationship with his father, their years of estrangement, and the slow, difficult process of rebuilding trust between them. It's still a work in progress, Alex admitted. Some days are better than others. But I'm learning that forgiveness doesn't have to be all at once. It can come in pieces, over time. Jamie reached out then, placing a warm hand over Alex's on the table. That takes a lot of courage. To keep trying, even when it's hard. The touch sent a current through Alex, a connection that felt both comforting and exhilarating. He turned his hand slightly, so their palms met, fingers interlacing naturally. It was a small gesture but felt monumental somehow. By the time they'd finished their main courses, Alex had nearly forgotten about his missing glasses. The initial embarrassment had transformed into something precious. This unexpected intimacy, Jamie beside him rather than across from him, their shoulders occasionally brushing, the shared smiles and lingering glances. Dessert? The waiter asked, appearing beside their table to clear their plates. Jamie looked at Alex questioningly. What do you think? I hear their tiramisu is legendary. I'm game if you are, Alex replied, realizing he wasn't ready for the evening to end. One tiramisu, 2 forks, Jamie told the waiter, who nodded approvingly. When the dessert arrived, layers of coffee-soaked ladyfingers and mascarpone cream, dusted with cocoa, they took turns taking bites, their forks occasionally meeting in the middle, causing them both to laugh. The conversation continued to flow easily, touching on favorite books, dream travel destinations, the small rituals that made up their daily lives. I have a very specific morning routine, Jamie confessed. Coffee has to be made before anything else happens. Then I water my plants while it brews. I talk to them, which my roommate finds hilarious. Then I sit by the window with my coffee and write 3 pages in my journal, no matter what. Even if it's just, I have nothing to write today, over and over. That sounds lovely, Alex said, trying to picture Jamie in this morning ritual, soft with sleep, caring for plants, putting thoughts on paper. My mornings are chaos by comparison. Multiple alarms, hitting snooze too many times, then rushing around trying to find matching socks while brushing my teeth. Jamie laughed, the sound warm and genuine. Maybe someday you'll have to experience my morning routine. For comparison purposes, of course. The implication that there might be a morning when they would wake up together hung in the air between them, full of possibility. Alex felt his heart rate quicken at the thought. For comparison purposes, he agreed softly, holding Jamie's gaze. As they finished the last bites of tiramisu, the restaurant had grown quieter, many of the other diners having already departed. Their waiter brought the check, which Jamie insisted on paying despite Alex's protests. "You can get the next one," Jamie said, with a certainty that made Alex's heart leap. There would be a next time. They stepped out into the night, the air cooler now, the street quieter. The string lights overhead seemed to glow more brightly, casting a gentle illumination on the sidewalk. Neither seemed in a hurry to say goodbye. "Would you like to walk for a bit?" Jamie asked. "There's a nice park a few blocks from here. Nothing fancy, just some benches and trees, but it's peaceful at night." "I'd like that," Alex replied, feeling a pleasant anticipation building inside him. They walked side by side, close enough that their hands occasionally brushed against each other, each touch sending a small thrill through Alex. Eventually, Jamie reached out and took his hand properly, their fingers interlacing as if they'd done this 100 times before. The park was indeed simple, a small green space with winding paths, benches placed strategically under old oak trees, a modest fountain in the center. They found an empty bench and sat down, still holding hands, looking up at the night sky. The moon was nearly full, casting a silvery glow over everything. "So," Jamie said after a comfortable silence, "did you really forget your glasses? Or was it all an elaborate ruse?" Alex laughed, squeezing Jamie's hand. "I really forgot them. But I'm starting to think it was the universe conspiring in my favor." "The moon, perhaps?" Jamie suggested with a smile. "Giving you one more piece of good advice?" "If it was, I'm grateful," Alex replied, turning slightly to face Jamie more directly. "This has been—" "I don't even have the right words. Special feels inadequate." "I know what you mean," Jamie said softly. "There's something here, isn't there? Something that feels different." Alex nodded, feeling a surge of emotion that was both thrilling and terrifying. "Definitely different. Good different." Jamie reached up then, gently touching Alex's face, fingers tracing along his jawline. "I'm going to kiss you now," Jamie whispered. "Unless you have any objections." "No objections," Alex managed to say, his voice barely audible. "None whatsoever." The kiss was soft at first, tentative, a question being asked and answered. Then it deepened, becoming more confident, more certain. Alex felt as though something inside him that had been closed was slowly opening, like a flower turning toward the sun. When they finally pulled apart, both slightly breathless, he kept his eyes closed for a moment, wanting to memorize the feeling. "Wow," Jamie breathed, forehead resting against Alex's. "That was—" "Yeah," Alex agreed, opening his eyes to find Jamie looking at him with such tenderness it made his chest ache. "It really was." They stayed in the park for another hour, sometimes talking, sometimes sitting in comfortable silence, sharing a few more kisses that grew increasingly familiar yet no less exciting. When the night air finally became too chilly to ignore, they reluctantly stood to leave, hands finding each other automatically. "I'll walk you home," Jamie offered, and Alex nodded, not quite ready to say goodbye. The walk to Alex's apartment was slow, both of them seemingly trying to extend their time together. They talked about plans for the coming week, discovering a shared free evening on Wednesday, immediately agreeing to see each other again. "I'll remember my glasses next time," Alex promised as they reached his building. "Though I have to admit, I'm not entirely sorry I forgot them tonight." "Neither am I," Jamie replied, pulling him close for one more kiss, this one lingering and full of promise. "But next time, I want you to be able to see my face clearly when I tell you how much I enjoy being with you." Alex felt a warmth spread through him that had nothing to do with the kiss and everything to do with the sincerity in Jamie's voice. "Wednesday seems very far away right now." "It does," Jamie agreed. "But I have a feeling it will be worth the wait." As Alex watched Jamie walk away, turning once to wave before disappearing around a corner, he couldn't help but look up at the moon, bright and clear in the night sky. "Thank you," he whispered, feeling a little foolish but deeply grateful nonetheless. For forgotten glasses, for intimate moments, for the beginning of something that felt remarkably like promise. Later, lying in bed, replaying every moment of the evening, Alex realized he hadn't felt this kind of excitement, this sense of possibility, in longer than he could remember. Whatever was starting between him and Jamie felt real in a way that made his previous relationships seem like mere practice, preparing him for this. His phone buzzed with a text message. "Jamie, just wanted to say goodnight again, and to tell you that I'm already looking forward to Wednesday. Sweet dreams." Alex smiled in the darkness, typing his reply, "Good night. I'm counting the hours until Wednesday." And Jamie, "Thank you for reading the menu to me tonight. It might be my new favorite memory." The response came almost immediately. "Mine too. Who knew forgetting glasses could lead to something so unforgettable? Sleep well, Alex." As he drifted towards sleep, Alex made a mental note to leave his glasses at home on Wednesday too. Some mistakes, it seemed, were worth repeating. Total _char_count, 18,786.